Yo, K-Kunnnn here. Today, we are going to take a look at Burnice's teams. And I'll give a rating of 10 head pats for Denny Boost out of 10, which is just my personal rating of the team. And do note this stage buffs Disorder and like Sons of Caledon, so obviously it's gonna be a little bit biased towards the Sons of Caledon's character. So yeah, let's get started with our first team, which is Lucy, Burnice, and Piper. With this team, it feels smooth to swap around the characters. For my character positions, I have Lucy on the front so that I can proc the cheer on buff in the start, so that Burnice can get the buff when I do her pyromaniac shenanigans, and then swapping to Piper doing her basic attack twice so I can immediately do her spin state. But realistically, that doesn't happen all the time because you'll have to dodge and attack. With this team, I think ulting with Burnice or Lucy is probably better for the team's performance, in my opinion, because one, Lucy can give a 20 energy back to Burnice, which might be good for keeping up her heat at around 50 or more. And for Burnice, the quick assist to Piper really helps keep the boss staggered long enough so that you can do your Piper rotation. But either way, I do think you can't go wrong with ulting with these two. Though maybe you'll have some energy issues with Piper, I think you'll manage with this team even with those energy issues. So overall, 8.5 head pats out of 10. Next up, Seth, Burnice, Grace. Now with this team, if you like quick swapping with different characters, you'll like it. Personally, I find this pretty fun, but also it might have a bit of a skill swapping issue because sometimes I want to swap to Grace but instead it's Seth. So it can be a bit wonky if you're just mindlessly pressing buttons, but due to not just sticking with one character, I feel like I was just swapping randomly for fun and we're still doing like a lot of damage. But my basic rotation is Seth, Grace, and Burnice because I want Burnice to get the shield anomaly buff because I always do her double shot flamethrower, and that keeps her still in an area for a while. With Grace, she's basically the positioning queen in the team, and plus she's ranged so you can reposition her with basic attacking and EX skill. So overall, 7 head pats out of 10 if you're not paying attention. Caeser, Burnice, and Jane. Now this is an actual premium Onesan team. We have Caeser as the tomboy Onesan, Burnice as the unhinged Onesan, and then Jane's the one Onesan that you shouldn't probably dig into her background because you're probably gonna get. But anyways, I think this one's self-explanatory. Yeah, proc Caeser shield to get that 1k attack bonus and making the enemies take more damage, and swapping to Burnice to proc afterburn, then start dicing the enemies with Jane, rinse and repeat. The one thing I do differently is using Burnice's ult instead of Jane's ult, so let me preface this. I feel like if you ult with Jane or Burnice, either way you're proccing the big PP disorder damage, yeah? I just feel like the ability to quick swap with Burnice's ult and do Jane's dodge attack and doing Jane's thing feels nice and smooth. Overall, 10 out of 10 head pats. So subscribe for some head pats because you know you deserve it. Rina, Burnice, and Jane. Now this team is just smooth to play because of how you just either basic attack or EX skill with Rina and swap on to Burnice. And with Rina, we don't need her additional ability because it's for electric characters only. We're just using her as a pen ratio bot, and if you have her M1, it's Jover for the enemies. The ability to EX skill and swap to Burnice and doing her double shot flamethrower attack to build up heat, and swapping to Jane for those big PP damage disorder. You're basically at least doing minimum at estimated like 200k disorder damage without the buff of the stage. So I'ma rate this a 10 out of 10 head pats. Lucy, Burnice, Jane. Now with this team, it's pretty similar to Rina's team. Instead of pen ratio, it's attack boost and will probably last a bit longer or the same as Rina's buff. With this team, you just EX skill with Piper and swap on to Burnice to incinerate the enemies, applying afterburn, and then going to Jane to do her Jane things. I feel like this is similar to the previous team with just 2 off-field damage dealers. Just remember to maintain the cheer on buff on Lucy and stack up heat on Burnice. 10 out of 10 head pats out of 10. Caeser, Burnice, Piper. Now this team is pretty solid, with Caeser providing protection while Burnice applies burn onto the enemies, and then Piper proccing disorder, or you do it the other way around with Burnice. If for some reason you don't have Jane and got Caeser and Burnice while having Piper, this is a comfy option to give you a brain-dead spin-to-win gameplay with Caesar's shield protecting everyone in the team, Burnice and Piper's spin-to-win action. Rotation-wise, you literally don't have to think, but most probably Additionally, you will encounter some energy issues with Piper if you don't have her Mindscapes, because those literally help her manage her energy and just leveling up the damage so you can do her spin to win gameplay even more. So I'll give this an 8 head pats out of 10, and if you don't have her Mindscapes on Piper, it's probably like a 7 or a 6. Rina, Burnice, and Grace. This one's a pretty good option too. You trigger burn and shock on the enemies while having some decent pen ratio given by Rina. Plus her additional skill will be handy for Grace as well, giving shock a 3-second duration, which can help in consistently proccing disorder. Since shock is now 13 seconds, you just have to keep proccing disorder on maybe like Burnice or Grace. I feel like you don't have to think about it because it will just naturally happen as you fight the enemies and build up their anomaly gauge. So the only problem I can see is energy issues with Grace, because with this stage it gives out a lot of energy every time you do like disorder, so without that you might want to try energy regen Grace. Maybe? Though I'm not saying it's mandatory, it's just a copium advice, so maybe it will help maintain Grace's EX skill spams, but hey, that's just me again. So I'll give this team an 8 head pats out of 10 just because you can quick swap and sometimes the energy issues can be a hindrance. Now obviously you can try Burnice and Soldier 11, it's not that bad, but she has better options if you have them, of course, but if you don't, then this will be a good one. The third slot is basically a flex slot. You can put Kaleda, Lucy, Caeser, maybe later in the future. I don't have Soldier 11, which is probably like a blessing in my account since I don't want her right now, since I have other options, but I don't mind getting her in the future. I think Apel did like a video on that, so you can probably just check that out. Yanagi and Burnice will be a top tier team as well. I don't know what Yanagi's kit is, so if you dream, I guess you already know her kit, but she'll probably be like a better version of Grace. And maybe you can slot her in with lighter as well, only if you have the funds to do it, though don't swipe if you don't have the income to do it. So overall, I think these teams are pretty decent and solid for Burnice. I feel like there's not really like a wrong option here, but yeah, that's pretty much it. Subscribe so I can stay in the basement, like for the algorithm, and leave down in the comments after trying Burnice out in the bootcamp, did that made you want her even more or less? Let me know in the comments. But yeah, that's it. Bye!